Um, Please let me know if you can hear me because uh the audio is just coming from my phone right now. My computer's broken. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been so supportive and encouraging. For those that don't know, I've had a really difficult last year being pregnant, very difficult. And this is going to be my last live Q&A for a while because I'm due to give birth very soon. Hallelujah. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, so my disclaimers are that I'm not an expert, guys. I'm not a counselor. I'm not an expert. I just went through this for 20 years. So I'm not an expert, and I don't speak for all alienated kids. All of us have our own experiences. I can only speak from what I know, from my own experience and from what I've learned through research. So I want to start off with something really exciting. And if you follow the Anti-Alienation Project, you might know that I had an interview with none other than Tammy Peterson. Tammy Peterson is the wife of quite famous, I guess you could call, he was a psychology professor, but Jordan Peterson. Let me know in the comments, you guys, if you know about Jordan Peterson or Tammy Peterson. So I made a video a while ago on one of her videos because Tammy Peterson had made a video on parental alienation, and I made a reaction video to her video. Well, it turns out, guess what? She emailed me. Oh my goodness. Yes. I didn't tell you guys about it because I wanted to make sure that the interview went through and actually happened. But yeah, so we've been emailing since last summer about having an interview. In fact, the reason why it didn't happen for so long is because of this pregnancy, but I was going to fly in person and have the interview in person. It ended up being virtual, but yeah, so it would be really cool to do another interview with Tammy in the future. I wanted to tell you some stuff though about that, how the interview went. First of all, it was a 2-hour long interview. She was very, very kind. Her personal assistant, also very kind. I was super, super nervous. Like, I didn't sleep the night before type of nervous. I don't really care about celebrities or actors or actresses, but I really admire Jordan Peterson. My views tend to align with his a lot. So I was also very excited to meet his wife. It was just incredible. It really was a shocking experience. We ended up talking about parental alienation, of course. I'm not sure what they're going to keep in the interview and what they were going to cut out of the interview, but we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about parental alienation. Obviously, we talked about falling birth rates worldwide. We talked about the why people, especially young people, aren't getting married or having kids. We talked a lot about that. What else did we talk about? Oh, okay. Yeah, so the most surprising part of all of this interview with Tammy Peterson was definitely finding out that she herself was an alienated child. So Tammy grew up in parental alienation, first of all, is on a spectrum. So you can have mild alienation, you can have severe alienation. So Tammy shares in the interview that will be coming out, I guess, in a couple weeks. She shares how that she was actually an alienated child in an intact household. So her parents didn't divorce, but she was still alienated. And learning that in the interview caught me off guard, but it also just goes to show how common this is. So all in all, it was a very rewarding and exciting interview. I thank you, Tammy Peterson, for doing that. Now, I did write down some questions and answers. For these Q&As, I tend to go to Instagram to get questions. So here are some questions that I got from Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you go on there if you are on there, and follow me if you'd like to. So The first question is a very okay, actually, before I start the question, sorry guys, I'm all over the place. Before I start questions, I need to tell you that some of the questions I've answered in past live Q&As, and I'm not gonna rehash the questions I've already answered, so please go watch past live Q&As. You probably will find your answer there if I'm not addressing it. Secondly, I want to just reiterate that I'm not an expert. So my answers to these questions are coming from mostly my life. Okay, so number one is, how is your relationship with your mom now? There's no relationship, but I love her. I really do. And I wish we could have a relationship, but it's not in the cards at the moment. And that's what's best necessary for me and my family. A lot of people ask about my mom. It's like, I'm not, it doesn't, it's not really on my radar anymore. But I do, of course, miss her. She's my mom. Will you start a podcast? I feel like I've been doing a podcast. It's just with video. I could take the audio from it and make it into a podcast, but I don't have the time for that right now. Another person, oh, you can add questions live too. I'll answer questions if you guys ask me questions in the live chat. And if my phone dies, I'm sorry, it overheated. That happened yesterday. Okay, someone asked, how did you realize you were alienated? And I cannot go through this again. I have so many videos on YouTube about this though, so please hop over to YouTube after and yeah, you can find a lot of videos that I've already made on how I realized I was alienated. Someone that says your mom is the alienator. Yeah. Are you having a boy or girl baby? I don't know why I think this is so funny. Okay, I'm having a girl, and we already have 2 girls, so now we're gonna have 3 girls. It's good. It's a girl gang over here. I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way. Love being a mom to girls. It's very, very rewarding. Would you start? No. Would taking you? Okay, this is a hypothetical question that I've been asked in several different manners, and the question is, if someone had taken you away or out of your mom's custody when you were younger, would that have been better for you, or would that have been more traumatic for you? That's the question I get a lot. And I can say the answer is probably yes to both. It would have been better for me. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the question really boils down to, if you want to interpret it right, it boils down to, do you leave a kid with an abusive parent, or do you take them away? What's better for that kid? You know? And what's better for that kid is to be taken away from the abusive parent. That's what I believe. Would that have been the second part of the question? Would that have been better or more traumatic? That would have been traumatic. Yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. It would have been traumatic. Would it have been the best thing for me? At the same time, 2 things can be true. Yes, I wish someone had done that. I really wish custody had been reversed. And then I wish I'd been allowed to live with my dad's mom, my grandma, until I felt comfortable to live with my dad. I think that would have been a proper path for me. But psychological, ABUSE, I don't want to get flagged here. It's really hard to prove. Someone in the chat says, what is the latest on your college campaigns? The latest is that I haven't even been able to do much of the Anti-Alienation Project at all due to my health and the baby's health. It has to come first. It has to come first. I'm really sorry. I've been very disappointed in myself that I haven't been able to do more college campaigns, but I'm not done. I just have to put myself and this baby first right now. It's been a very high risk, very, very, very scary pregnancy. Okay, someone else says, how are you able to break the cycle? I did a lot of research. I think breaking the cycle is a lifelong process, by the way. I don't think it's something that you do or that you can just do once and then it's done. I think it's a lifelong process. Um, so, um, oh, I got some questions in the chat. Cool. Um, let's see. Um, a lot of these questions are on my list that I'm answering. How dangerous is it to get the child removed from the abusive parent when the child has already started false accusations? There are going to be a lot of reasons that people give for why you should leave your child in a situation with a psychologically, emotionally, possibly even other ways, abusive parent. There are a lot of things people say because they come to believe parents, sometimes targeted parents, and I'm not talking about all of you guys. I'm just saying sometimes this happens where the targeted parent, in order to cope, in order to survive, I believe it's a survival mechanism, they convince themselves that their child is better off without them. They convince themselves what the child has told them is true. They convince themselves that if they tried to get custody or if they tried to remove the child from the abuse, that would just cause more abuse for the child. And I do believe that most of all these parents are looking out for the child and themselves. Like they're not giving up. It's just like I said, a survival mechanism to convince yourself your child's better off with an abuser. But even saying that out loud, I hope helps some people realize how ludicrous that is. It's never going to be better to leave your child with an abuser. And it is so heartbreaking. It breaks my heart. I think about this stuff every day. I talk to people on the street every day about this stuff. Wherever I go, I will talk up to anyone about this. And everybody knows somebody if they're not going through it themselves. Everybody knows somebody. Somebody asked, what's your greatest victory now that you're reunited with your dad? And I'd have to say, and this goes along with the next question too, which is how often do you talk to your dad? So, if you like looked at a calendar, I would say I talk to my dad mostly every day. There might be a day or two where he's like hunting and we don't talk, but I talk to my dad all the time. I rely on him for advice. I call him just to say hi. I call him when I'm anxious. I call him when I'm sad. That might be my biggest breakthrough, honestly, because for the longest time, like I never called him, longest time meaning 20 years, that whole period, I never called him if I needed advice. I never called him if I felt upset and needed emotional comfort because I was made to believe that my dad was a narcissist who couldn't feel empathy, who didn't love me, who wouldn't be there if I called, who wouldn't be present or emotionally available for me if I were to call. So I never did, of course not. And the fact that I can pick up my phone now and I just dial him like it's nothing, that is huge for me. Huge for me. If something happens, like with this baby, for example, as I've gone through this whole process, I call my husband and then I call my dad. My dad is the parent I needed all along. And maybe part of me subconsciously knew that. Maybe. Sorry, sometimes in these live chats I do get a little bit emotional. So the next question is how has How has your mom reacted to you becoming such an advocate / her losing control? So my mom, I don't know. I really don't know. I also don't know how my brothers feel about it because nobody in my family has talked to me about it, believe it or not. Minus my dad and my stepmom, obviously. But so I don't know. It's none of my business. Somebody says, I'm so happy for you. Do you have the baby name picked out? Well, we've narrowed it down to 2 names. 2 names. So we're going to have to wait until we see her, and then we'll pick between those 2. Oh, okay, this is a good question. So it's kind of long. Bear with me. Here's the question. What is your opinion on asking for forgiveness from your child? It seems like the first time is good and appropriate. Beyond that, repeated apologies can turn into groveling and distorted sense of responsibility for the alienation. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I would agree. I would agree with that for sure. I say forgiveness, asking for forgiveness from your child, it always needs to be forgiveness for something that you've actually done wrong. Don't ask for forgiveness for something you didn't do, because then you're enabling their fabricated reality that has been imposed on them, and it's not true. You're going to solidify the alienation even more if you ask for forgiveness for things you did not do. Don't do that. If you did something wrong, make sure you ask for forgiveness. I've talked to enough people now over the past 2 years that there are similar things alienators tend to tell their kids. And it really boils down to, like, your parent doesn't care or love you. At the heart of it, it's like they will make the child believe different renditions of that, whether it be your parent's crazy, your parent's selfish, your parent abandoned us, was abusive, or even did all these false allegations. Like, they're going to make you out to be bad. So if you know that somebody has made your children believe you are bad, scary, that you don't love them, that you don't want them, you can make a list of things to do and say that's exactly opposite to that. And I know it seems like a lot of effort, and it is a lot of effort, but if you can prove you're the opposite of the person they've been made to believe, then you're on the right track. It's going to create some cognitive dissonance in your child. I had that the whole 20 years. Terrible cognitive dissonance. For example, my dad would be kind and loving and generous, and I would have to make that square in my head with what I believed, what I was made to believe about him. They didn't line up. It wasn't squared up. So I had to convince myself, oh, he's manipulating you. So, and that is something common I've talked to other people about. They just believed that when their parent was being nice, genuine, and caring, that the parent was actually just trying to manipulate them. Like, it will go that far. I hope that helps someone out there somehow. Here's some questions from Facebook. I also am on Facebook. So I'm actually not even most active on YouTube. Actually, I'm most active on, like, Instagram and Facebook. So make sure you follow me on there if you'd like. I got a couple questions from Facebook that I haven't had before. So, why is it important to protect your own children from the alienator? Let's talk about it. So, this goes along with breaking the cycle. And I did a lot of research into how to break the cycle. I found that it comes down to 3 major things, and this has played out in my life effectively and successfully. The first thing is I always want to be and need to be working on my own mental, physical health, emotional health. I need to be the best person I can be every day. I need to be constantly vigilant of my thoughts, of my emotions, of my beliefs, of everything. The second factor in breaking the cycle is to find a healthy, loving partner who can unconditionally love your children and you. So you need to be working on yourself, be finding a healthy, loving partner who can unconditionally love you and your children. The last part of that, breaking the cycle, includes separating oneself from your family of origin. This is extremely painful. This is very important at the same time. We have this idea sometimes, I think all people do who are in this situation, that maybe my parent will be better for my own kids than they were for me. False. False. So when you want to give your kids a better childhood or a better life than you had, you want your children to obviously be more successful than yourself, or normal people do. You obviously want your children to be happy and healthy. So first of all, you need to be the most happy and healthy version of you for your kid. Children are such good imitators, and they observe and just soak up everything. So I knew I need to be the best version of myself. I need to have the best marriage, the best, healthiest marriage I can have. And that's going to be what's best for my kids. If I'm healthy, if my husband's healthy, if our marriage is healthy, they'll be okay. And I could not be the best version of me, could not be the best mom, could not be the best wife because of the influence of my particular family member, but we'll just say family of origin in general. It's important to protect your children from abuse. That's why it's important for me to protect my own children from my family of origin. So we're getting down to the wire here. I'll check out the comments in the chat. My father was alienated from his daughter, was raised with my maternal grandparents. Sometimes grandparents can be really helpful. It is all just so hard. It really is. There's this idea, I think, that some parents have that their child isn't suffering and that they are suffering, but their child doesn't care. Like that I'm so sad my child won't talk to me. I'm so upset. Of course you are. Anyone would be. This is one of the hardest things you can go through in life for the child and the parent. But I see a lot of targeted parents who don't seem to understand or even know how much their own children are suffering. I was suffering in silence the whole time. I've talked to my dad about this since, and my dad's opinion of me that whole time, that whole 20 years, is that I hated him and I was angry at him. That was his opinion. That's what he got from me interacting with him, that I was angry and I hated him. I told him, well, the whole time, in my experience, I was sad and I wanted you to love me. All I wanted was for you to love me. That's all I wanted. I was devastated. But how are you going to act around a parent who you believe doesn't love you? Of course you're going to act cold, and of course you're going to act detached. I was a different person with my dad than I was with every other person in my life. Other people in my life, I'm fun, I'm like social, or at least I can be. With my dad, the whole time I was purposefully cold, I was purposefully mean, I was purposefully rude even. And I've apologized for that a million times, and I probably still will until I die. But the point is, what my dad was interpreting as an angry daughter who didn't want anything to do with him, behind the closed doors at night, you would find a girl crying because her dad doesn't love her. So it's always been the biggest pain, the biggest hurt in my life. And if I hadn't figured out the truth, I would, in a lot of ways, I would have considered my life a waste. I feel as if all these alienated kids are suffering so much. I know they are, and I know they just want to believe and the truth. I know they want to be loved by their parent so bad. They want that relationship. And that's why when you do figure out the truth, it's your world is rocked upside down usually. But there is an element, if your parent is still in this world, there is an element of hope and happiness. I certainly felt that. That's what the silver lining has been for me, the hope and the happiness. I can have my dad in my life. I can believe that he loves me like I thought he did when I was really young. Like, we can have that again. And it's been very natural reconnecting and rebuilding our relationship. It's been very natural. It's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And I want that for everybody so badly. But why did you think, someone says in all caps, but why did you think your dad didn't love you? Go watch my videos on YouTube. That's all I have to say about that. So I think I have like 2 questions left. What's the best advice for an adult who had been alienated and is now waking up? Okay, here's my advice. And this advice applies to parents as well. And somebody actually wrote about this type of advice already in a really well-known and well-respected book that I reread every year. It's called The Untethered Soul. So in my videos, I like to end on a note of hope. This book has gotten me through a lot of hard times, including the alienation. So I'm going to read part of this book. It'll be about 5 minutes, and then I probably am going to get going because I have a lot to do. But I would highly encourage everybody to read this book, especially the first half. You can read the chapters, they're standalone. So after this, I'll be giving birth. No, not today. That sounded so funny. I mean, in the near future, I will be out of commission. So I want to end on this. This changed my life. It might be intuitive for some people, but for me, learning about this really helped. I think it could apply to people who are learning the truth. I think it could apply to targeted parents. I even think it could apply to alienators. I think it could apply to everybody. And the name of the book is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. It's an amazing, amazing book. And if you go to my book list, which is somewhere in my links, you can find it, or you can just look it up on Amazon. It's called Your Inner Roommate, and it's talking about the voice in your head. And I think this is really helpful for people who are going through trauma or have been going through trauma and are trying to heal. So here we go. And some of this might be hard. Some of this might be hard to hear. It's not the easiest advice to follow. It will set you free. If you want something that will help set you free, even in the face of the life's biggest struggles, this book will help you. Okay, your inner growth is completely dependent on the realization that the only way to find peace and contentment is to stop thinking about yourself. You're ready to grow when you finally realize that the I, who is always talking inside your head, will never be content. It always have a problem with something. The bottom line is you'll never be free of problems until you are free from the part within it that has so many problems. When a problem is disturbing you, don't ask, what should I do about it? Ask, what part of me is being disturbed by this? If you ask, what should I do about it? You've already fallen into believing that there really is a problem outside that must be dealt with. If you want to achieve peace in the face of your problems, you must understand why you perceive a particular situation as a problem. Now, obviously, when it comes to alienation, the problem's pretty clear-cut. Abuse, right? But this is how you can basically maximize your mental health in the face of world's biggest problems. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. To attain true inner freedom, you must be able to objectively watch your problems. Objectively watch your problems instead of being lost in them. No solution can possibly exist while you're lost in the energy of a problem. Everyone knows you can't deal well with a situation if you're feeling anxious, scared, or angry about it. The first problem you have to deal with is your own reaction. You will not be able to solve anything outside until you own how the situation affects you inside. Problems are generally not what they appear to be. The only permanent solution to your problems is to go inside and let go of the part of you that seems to have this problem. Okay, I know this is a little bit weird. Let me skip ahead a little bit. Okay, basically, you're not alone in your head. There are two distinct aspects of your inner being. The first is you, the awareness, the witness, the center of your willful intentions. And the other part of you is that which you watch. The idea is that there's a running stream of consciousness in your head, and your thoughts come and your thoughts go, and your thoughts are not you. You are distinct and separate from your thoughts. And if you can train your thoughts and control your thoughts, then you can limit your emotional suffering. There's one more part I wanted to read. Oh, okay. So this is about the inner voice. And he says, how would you feel if someone outside really started talking to you the way that your inner voice does? Yeah, how would you feel? How would you relate to a person who opened their mouth to say everything your mental voice says? After a very short period of time, you would tell them to leave and never come back. But when your inner voice continuously speaks up, you don't ever tell it to leave. No matter how much trouble it causes, you listen. If someone outside of you said what your inner voice said, you might ignore them. But the bottom line is undeniable. If somehow that voice managed to manifest in a body outside of you and you had to take it with you everywhere you went, you wouldn't last a day. If somebody were to ask you what your new friend is like, meaning the voice inside your head, you would say, this is one seriously disturbed person. Just look up neurosis in the dictionary and you'll get the picture. This has helped me change my inner voice, this book, and that's so important to get through this type of trauma. It's traumatic for everyone involved. I'm going to quickly scroll through the chat and see if there's any last things to add. The bottom line for me hopping on here today was to just say thank you. The amount of just kindness, support, encouragement that I've received, not just in the past few months as I've had the worst year of my life, but in the past 2 years. I know there's so many people out there, even people right now listening, who are suffering, and suffering in the worst possible way. As a mother myself, I want to say I am very sorry to anyone experiencing this, and my heart every day goes out to people experiencing this. And just know that you're not alone. I'm trying my hardest and I won't give up. There's somebody who actually said something when I first announced, hey, I'm pregnant and this is not going well. I gotta take a break. I first announced that and somebody commented, oh, it must be one mom's battle. It must be, oh, thanks for the $5. That means a lot to me. thank you so much for starting this channel. I hope your heart heals. My son is sad too. I miss him so much. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to heart that. Oh, there we go. I hearted it. What was I talking about? Oh, the person's like, I bet you're just quitting because of, you know, all these haters. And I'm like, geez, I wish that was the reason why, but no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm just in the hospital. Oh gosh. So the last question I have is, was there anything you had hoped to hear from your dad as a child that would have changed the state of things? I've gotten this question before. This question haunts me more than any other. And I don't like to dwell on the past. I've already done that enough. And if there were magic words, a magic phrase or solution, I would tell everybody, I would shout it from the rooftops. For the targeted parents, I've said this before and I said this again. If you're wondering how the alienator wins, this is how they do it. So they convince the child you don't care, you don't love them, you don't want them in your life, you're a bad person. They convince the child they are unlovable by you. And so then the child acts and treats you in a certain way that convinces you, the parent, that's true. My child doesn't love me. It's a huge triangulation. So the way the alienator wins is to get the targeted parent to give up and believe the child doesn't love them any longer. And then the targeted parent will start acting in a way that it reinforces to the child that they don't. If you're hurt, even if it's your child, your behavior will be a little different. It's hard not to, right? So here's something you can do just to know you gave it your all. Just to know that looking back, you won't have any regrets, and you did everything. Is to really focus on yourself and your life. And I don't mean that in a selfish way. I mean that in a create your wonderful life that will draw your child back. You don't want your child to come back to you and to have them find a disaster area. You don't want your child to come back to you and have them find out that you don't have much health or anything to give them. You want to be able to create a wonderful life. And hell, like, even if the worst happened and your child didn't reconnect, you would end up with what? A wonderful life? Like, there is no downside to creating your own wonderful life. And I would start with what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel like you have a purpose in the world. And oftentimes that is by doing acts of service that are outside of ourselves. And that is by taking on extra responsibility outside of ourselves. Working on your career or your romantic relationship, or hell, even just landscaping or starting a garden or just doing anything for joy. It will affect how your children see you. I promise you. There is no alienated child who truly is ambivalent about either of their parents. That's not alienated children. I've talked to so many people who've been through this now, and all of us are like little children who just want to be loved by both parents and just want to love both parents. So your child wants to believe that you love them. I think that's something that really needs to sink in with a lot of people, that your child wants you to love them. They've been made, brainwashed to believe that you don't. But do they want you to love them? Yes. Oh my God, yes. More than anything. You just got to get that belief shifted. So they believe they know the truth. And people are so scared to say the truth. People are scared to say your parent's lying to you or your parent is not telling you the truth. And so while we have all these kids just stuck with abuse, so back to that question, is it better to leave children there? Or is it better to take them out? Fight for your children. Each situation is different. If you need to do something specific for yourself to survive, do it, including, giving your child space if that's what you feel is right. Trust yourself. They are your child no matter what. That goes back to the first question about whether or not I talk to my mom. No, I don't. But I do absolutely love her. And I do miss her. And I do wish I could talk to my mom. Children just want to know that they're loved by their parents. So please, just, work on your own wonderful life. Shower your children in love that they might, by some people's standards, they might not deserve. Unconditional love doesn't look for or expect anything in return. They're receiving a whole bunch of false conditional love from their alienator parent. And I'd be willing to bet you a lot of money that those kids, they just want enough evidence. They're down deep inside unconsciously. They just want enough evidence to know that you do love them. And so show them unconditional love so they know what that feels like, because they're not getting it from their other parent. You could even, okay, I gotta stop talking. I will never stop. Oh my goodness. Well, this has been fun. I really like engaging with people in this manner. I feel like I just like talking to people, and it's hard to reply to every single comment, but I thank you for the comments and the questions. More importantly, thank you for supporting my project. Like, once again, I'm not giving up. Hopefully people understand. It is my daughter and my personal health information, so I'm not going to give that out. It is been very serious though, where my dedication to this project has not wavered. I simply have been unable to fulfill basic, editing functions because I'm focused on, ooh, you need a live show with callers. Oh my gosh, that's what my husband and I did. We did Ramsey, what is his name? Dave Ramsey's. We watched some of his live telephone shows to learn about money. Okay, so I just want to say a huge thank you, huge hug. Thank you. I hope everybody has a great spring. I will post maybe updates, maybe we'll have to see. But thank you for being here. Thank you for loving and fighting for your children. Honestly. Yes, that's what I really want to say. Thank you for fighting with your children, fighting for your children, sorry. Yes, and I'm going to try to get my dad. I'm going to try to do an interview with him as well. Because I do recognize that my outcome, our relationship, I think is uniquely, I think we've done a really good job of the whole reunification. I hate that word, reunification, but yeah, I think that it's been like almost as great as it could be. So we'll see. But thank you guys so much, and I really appreciate your time just watching and sharing the videos. If you enjoyed this, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, find me there. That's where I ask the questions and keep people updated with other live chats and events and stuff like that. We also have, I guess it's just me. We have a newsletter as well that I will send newsletters out on. I believe that all this information should be in the description of the video. The Facebook, all of it is called the Anti-Alienation Project. I'm even on TikTok to reach those younger kids and everything like that. Before this pregnancy, I was actually going to different college campuses, and I was educating students on college campuses in person. It was super, super interesting and rewarding. And I plan on getting back to that once my baby is old enough to. So I do have a lot of plans for the future. And I just hope everybody has a great day. I'll